Hi everyone, and welcome to the special edition of STEaPP Chat. We are here with the CryptoKitties who represented UCL at the Cyber 912 Strategy Challenge this year.
I'm Simon.
I'm Clementine.
I'm Isabella.
I'm Zoey. This is Dr. Chung and Dr. Irina. They are our mentors for this challenge this year.
So tell me a little bit more, what is Cyber 912? What do you want to take part in it?
So Cyber 912 Cybersecurity Policy Challenge is a nationwide policy challenge with teams from different universities all across the UK. And so we were given a sort of scenario relating to a cybersecurity incident, and the challenge kind of stems from an escalation in the challenge in the situation, and us as a team having to react and respond to that as if we're reporting to senior government officials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we had a first scenario, then we made a policy document, then we printed it, and we were selected to the semi-final. And so we worked very hard overnight, and we printed then our policy.
Well done, CryptoKitties, by the way, for making it to the semifinals. It was a tough night.
Thank you. That was a long night.
Very long, yeah.
And also, you were the first ones to present
That's
the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. First up. Oh.
Yeah.
That was just delirious. I think by that point, it was. Yeah, we were working here in the office until sort of 1:30 or so, and then it was back for a couple of hours of sleep, then straight into the BT Tower, to present away. It was madness.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why this is important and taking part and putting a team together and taking part in the Cyber 912 competition is that really this is putting to the test some of the key skills and knowledge that we hope that you learn from our masters in digital technologies and public policy, as well as what we're doing more broadly in terms of research and teaching in the Digital Policy Lab, which are some fundamental skills about, for instance, how to brief a senior official, or how to write a policy document, or most importantly, how to navigate the very complex cybersecurity landscape that we have, that we're increasingly seeing that is out there.
Yes, absolutely. So a bit more about the Digital Policy Lab. So we contribute to teaching and research, of course, but on the research front in particular, we work very closely with national governments, for example, but also on the international level. And we co-design and co-produce some of these projects that we work on with these stakeholders. So in this regard, from our team, our project teams, we try to draw our expertise from the different members, for example, in the protection of critical national infrastructure, in the consumer IoT devices, in the use of evidence in cybersecurity policy, and also in the governance and organization of the cybersecurity ecosystem. So these are kind of the tools that we want to bring together to help prepare you for this training. And that's how we designed the training program for Cyber 912.
Absolutely, and it should be mentioned that it was very much a team effort from you guys, as well as bringing the entire Digital Policy Lab, the members of the entire Digital Policy Lab together to support with the different expertise that we could help with. But I guess over to you now to tell us what was one of the most important moments where you realized that you've gained something new from this experience.
The fact that we made it to the semi-finals, we made it to the second round, which sort of meant that we had to come back to the offices after the first round and create a whole new policy document for the next morning. The fact that we kind of came here, sat down in a room, managed to do that in about 6 hours, or something ridiculous, already very tired, was, I think, kind of highlights the skills that we learned during the MPA so far, and I think it's just something that we're kind of proud of that we actually managed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we really felt the war room experience right after day one of the conference, and it was really in real time almost. We received new evidence, a lot of it, under a very short time. We had to digest it, kind of filter through what was actually relevant, what were the red herrings, and how to prioritize the different risks, which was very real this year. It was about critical infrastructure and cybersecurity software vulnerabilities in a petroleum distribution plant, which could really happen. So I guess that really helped us also motivate our thinking and ground us in policy decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think also like using all the frameworks we learned at uni and putting them into a policy memo and then giving them to the judges, and then was very important to. It was very important to know how to use those frameworks in a real case scenario. And the judges at STEaPP 912 told us that actually using this framework was very important for the decision makers, because it's very clear in their head and it showed that we actually thought about it, and then we are, trying to balance the pro and the con stuff.
Just a quick question about that. How did you find the interactions with the judges?
Terrifying.
Which part? Depends which part.
Well, yeah.
I mean, like, at the top of Speedy Tower, talking to them, it was nice.
Yeah, but yeah.
Well,
Talk to them in a more casual sense.
Well, yeah, so there's two parts. I feel like the most valuable part was in the actual conference with the judges. I would say the gloves came off. It wasn't like teacher-student. It was like very collegiate. They spoke to you, gave you feedback, and criticized you as if we were working together and assessing our policy options, which is very much enriching outside the classroom setting, because I feel like it's not only about learning, but really critiquing and improving. And then the fun part was the cocktails with the judges when we realized they were human, as well as intelligence professionals or professionals with military background.
Yeah, that's sort of, the kind of other sort of main aspect of the competition doing those presentations is intimidating as well. And like, because, the judges are super experts in those areas. And like, we had people who'd worked in military intelligence, who, in banking intelligence. And we had I've forgotten his name now, but like the director of the whole sort of challenge over in the US as well was one of our judges as well. And that was like, when you see that and he's sitting in front of you and he's critiquing all the things you're doing, it's just like, it's terrifying.
And also appreciating a lot of the good things that you did. For instance, when you held your ground, when you were pushed to attribute the attack and you held your ground.
Yeah, it was, there's certainly something I've sort of learned from that is like, just how to be sort of quite more comfortable in those situations. And so that was a lot of fun as well. I found it fun, at least.
I think also it was very challenging because they are experts in their own field, and they want you to talk about, this specific aspect that you have thought about it, but not that much. And then they're going to give feedbacks a lot on this particular point, and you're like, okay, well, we did think about it, but not that much. But
yeah, because we had the sort of one policy in our second document about like sort of the military and shipping oil, and then he just turned around and went, right, no, that doesn't happen. And we were like, okay.
So from this experience, if you were to take something that you will use for your future career, you are the future leaders in digital technologies and public policy. So if you were to take one thing that this whole experience so far, since you've joined the Masters, with this particular bit of experiential learning that you'll use for the future, what would it be?
I think one thing then is sort of like presenting and just having confidence in what you're presenting. Like, I think that's what the judges were really impressed with, was when you made a point and they sort of asked you and probed you about that point. If you could stand your ground really well, they were very impressed with that.
I think group dynamics, how we like grew as a team, that was something I learned, and it was interesting to see firsthand, especially late at night when we're all tired.
All getting a bit stressed.
Yeah, all getting a bit stressed. It was interesting to see how people changed and like how to react and deal with the situation, make sure, no one kills each other.
But this is also part of cybersecurity itself. You have managing cybersecurity policy, which is the whole thing about doing this in real life as well, is that it's such a coordinated task that you need to have good team dynamics, and you need to understand what are the strengths of each member within that particular team in order to respond in a meaningful and proactive way to a particular incident. So it's meant to do this as well. It's meant to sort of bring the team together.
And if you had to name one thing, one takeaway message that's, well, not a message, but one valuable thing about this whole experience, what would that be?
Stay curious.
I don't know, I think it's just kind of the experience itself, like it is a first-hand sort of example of what it is to work in those kind of high-pressure scenarios. And I think we're lucky with the MPA that we're doing that we have been taught the sort of things that kind of came up. We were taught like how to do a policy brief, so that really helped us when it came to both rounds. And I can remember in the class that you and Adam taught in first term when we were doing the rapporteur and other things, and Adam would get us to stand up and we have to talk very quickly, very precisely, as if we're talking to a government minister, and he would sort of get us to the point and then that's it, and then move on. And so it's, the MPA has prepared us for this, I think, but also the experiences helped us build on what you've already taught us.
Well, I think what comes out from the conference is that cybersecurity is a really big challenge, and you think that everyone cares about the same aspect of the challenge. But even in the conference, in a panel of 4 judges, all 4 people are caring about different aspects of the issue at hand, depending on their background, like military, or is it economical, I don't know, diplomacy, security, crime, and we're just there with the facts. It's not as black and white and clear cut as it seems in theory.
So what was the one thing that was really, really challenging during the experience? If you were to point one thing?
I guess so, to finish my point then. I'm sorry. It was, I guess, understanding the different stakes and knowing in a policy arena the different levers for decision makers in order to support them and not even argue, but present the facts and the risks and uncertainties, because it's difficult to say you're not sure or you don't know, especially in front of such important people. And this is what this exercise essentially is about.
So I guess if you were to change one thing about the current state of cybersecurity policy at the moment, what would it be? Future leaders.
This is hard.
I know.
Yeah.
I think because it's such a new area and it's kind of something that's kind of affected across different sectors all at the same time, it's kind of grown up in all different places at once. I think you're starting to see it sort of cybersecurity kind of policies start to kind of centralize a bit more. And I think having that sort of decentralization of it at the moment is what makes it so difficult, why there are so many challenges and vulnerabilities. So pushing things more to a sort of centralization, I think, would probably help make things more secure.
It's a very good point. It gets to the heart of my own research, which is the mapping out of the governance landscape in cybersecurity. And that's exactly one of the things that we're looking at, whether it's better to centralize or decentralize. And what are you trying to centralize? Is it information? Is it operations? Is it tactical or strategical aspects? Yes, it's a very complex issue.
And I guess that would lay the foundations for understanding incentives in this landscape and how to better govern cybersecurity once you actually know the players in the landscape. So that would be my answer, I guess, to your question. The biggest challenge for cybersecurity in the future would be understanding incentives, aligning different incentives in order to serve, I guess, protect infrastructure, protect people, protect our privacy, protect our rights. And it's all based on different incentives and negotiating that with each other.
Which is a tough job, I guess, for decision makers as well.
Yeah.
I think this experience also proved that we were actually part of STEaPP and that the STEaPP staff is so supportive of the MPA students. Because we came back late at night and then the people who were there gather in the office and like give us feedbacks and like give us advice on how we could do the next policy brief. And then at 1 a.m. or 1:30, I don't know, Irina went through the document with us and like she was trying to work that, and that was like really thoughtful and we really appreciated it.
Yeah, well, I think like the sort of help, the guidance that you guys and the other sort of members of the team gave us was so valuable to be able to come sort of straight back here and sit down with you and Leonie as well, and just kind of go through the document right there, and then was so helpful. And then
But
you
not
being
just
able
the document, the food, the cheerleading, the mental support,
pay for the taxi towing,
the taxi home. Just building our own confidence.
Yeah.
And providing the CryptoKitty props.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, helping us when we were delirious the next morning. He came along with the ginger shots for all of us. It was very helpful.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Just a follow up on that. What about, I remember Madeline's comment about your charming radio voice. Did that really to boost 1,000% confidence?
That was a confidence boost. Yeah, when we were sort of practicing the presentation. Yeah, that helped. Certainly gave me the confidence of like, okay, I can do this. And like, I think that it was helpful when suddenly I'm intimidated by the judges. Like,
Yeah. Madeline's voice whispering to you in the back of your mind.
And thank you very much for watching this episode of STEaPP Chat. And there's one thing that the CryptoKitties would like to say.
Stay curious!
And please tune in next time to our next episode.